The Oscars mean a lot to me. As I began to fall in love with movies, the Oscars opened up a new world to me. It allowed me to see films for the individual aspects rather than the greater whole, and that deepened my love for films. I was able to pick apart what I loved and what I didn't. It allowed me to see films for the different qualities they present, and it made me understand the medium on a different level. Now in the years ahead, I hope to watch as many Oscar-nominated films as I can, and this YouTube channel is to document that. And to make it easier, I'm going to go year by year, watching every single Oscar-nominated film, or as many as I can find. And then I guess just talk about my opinions on the nominations. I'm going to start with the 2023 Oscars as they just happened. This is going to be split up into 3 videos. And this first video is going to be about movies with sole tech nominations. Enough talking. Let's get to more talking. Let's start with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was nominated for Best Visual Effects, like the past 2 movies were. And like the past 2 movies, there are lots of space battles, alien creatures, and fight scenes, all improved by the use of visual effects. The emotional draw of this movie is Rocket Raccoon's backstory, which deals a lot with experimented on animals, and those scenes are built upon great visual effects, so this nomination checks out. Just nice grand visuals for the grand conclusion of the Guardians. Or at least as we know them. This is a deserved nomination. Next is Godzilla -1, nominated for Best Visual Effects as well. For a movie made with such a small budget, around $10 to $15 million, they made the VFX look incredible. All the Godzilla shots look magnificent, and the destruction he creates is thrilling to watch. All the boat and flying scenes also look great. The visual effects team clearly spent so much time and energy to make what was a small production feel massive, and it's probably that narrative that led the film to winning in this category. Yes, Godzilla -1 also won Best Visual Effects. It's the most prominent and impressive aspect of the film, and is a deserved win for a film that continues the legacy of the creature that fought Charles Barkley. A well-deserved nomination, and an excellent win. Now we have Golda nominated for Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Regardless of how terrible the contents of the film and screenplay are, if this film was to be appreciated for one thing, it would be the makeup. Helen Mirren is unrecognizable, and looks pretty close to how Golda Meir looked. It's a good effort from the makeup team. A fine nomination for a terrible film. Next we have Conde nominated for Best Cinematography. The visuals are easily the best part of the film. If the film was going to get nominated for anything, it was this. Any shot outside looks gorgeous in the film's moody black and white. The land often has a fog or is lit in such a way that everything feels dim, yet is visible and detailed. The flying sequences are often the best, especially among the clouds or the city at night. I would say the film has a great visual style. An understandable nomination. Now we have Napoleon with 3 nominations. We'll start with visual effects. The construction of the backgrounds and the large amount of ship scenes in the movie are done well enough, but nothing too special to highlight. The sheer amount of VFX soldiers in the large battle sequences is a bit impressive though, and the ice lake scene being made up of various visual effects, creating soldiers to charge in the battle and getting attacked by cannonballs and falling through the ice, is pretty amazing looking. Side note, some of the gore and violence looks weird, like cheap horror movie weird. Anyway, the visual effects are pretty good. An understandable nomination. The film was also nominated for costume design. The costumes are of course great looking. I mean, it's a period drama, what do you expect? All the characters have like 10 different outfits each, all complex and regal or professional, depending on the scenario. Lots of uniforms and large dresses, and even various timely civilian clothing. Just for the amount and variation of costumes, this is an understandable nomination. Finally, the film was nominated for production design. Now this is where, to me, the film shines. The numerous manors and royal buildings were great locations, constantly inhabited by those scummy rich politicians and army officials. The different battlefields, notably the castle at the beginning of the film, are great and vary enough to be distinct. All around, the film's environments and locations, along with various weapons and set designs, place the film in its appropriate time period. As far as I can tell, maybe I don't know enough about history and all that. A pretty good nomination. Next is The Creator, nominated for 2 awards, the first being Best Visual Effects. If there's a reason to watch this movie, it's for the visual effects. As it is a sci-fi, the film has tons of futuristic locations, vehicles, weapons, and robots, all created with VFX rather than much of any practical effects. The Nomad, a giant spaceship where both research and bomb attacks are conducted, looks menacing as it floats through the sky across the land. The cop cars and vans all have cool designs, and the guns look a little unoriginal, but still good. The big stars on display here are both the vast locations, labs, facilities, and mountain valleys, along with the robotic humans known as simulants. They have this cool gear wheel thing in the back of the head that is all done digitally, which looks awesome and would be amazing in a better sci-fi film. So much of the film and the world it creates is told through the visual effects, and they look great, so why not nominate it? This is a deserved nomination. The film was also nominated for Best Sound. Good visual effects go hand in hand with good sound design, especially within sci-fi flicks. The sounds of the gunfire and bombs exploding are all good, but what I think got this film this nomination is all the robot and ship sound effects. There's lots of powering up, long droning noises for moving, and the scanning noise as the Nomad finds its targets. The lower class robots have this vocal tone when they speak that reminds me of when old computers would read out words, which I like. The sound of the language translator speaking back in English was also a nice touch. There's just lots of different sounds on display here that build the visuals and create a more fully realized world and environment. An understandable nomination. Next we have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, nominated for 2 awards, the first being Best Visual Effects. Checking out some behind the scenes footage really made me appreciate this nomination way more. Obviously much of the ending train set piece is composed of VFX techniques to build up the destruction of the train and the surrounding natural environment, as well as capturing many of the death-defying stunts that couldn't be done for real. However, there was a bunch of scenes that I didn't even notice were done digitally, specifically some shots during the motorcycle sequence, and a lot of the interior shots throughout the film. Honestly, some great stuff on display here. A well-deserved nomination. The film was also nominated for Best Sound. I think all of the modern Mission Impossible movies could be nominated for this category, but I'm happy one finally made the list. All the guns, stabs, and punches matched a heightened spectacle on display in this franchise, and follow the logic of the location. A train racing through a tunnel, cars crashing into each other through Rome, a submarine panicking while being attacked. The sound builds each environment with the VFX to make everything seem believable, at least within this franchise's world. Also, the AI villain has some weird processing noise that sounds cool. A well-deserved nomination. Next we have American Symphony, nominated for Best Song. That song being It Never Went Away by Jon Batiste. Batiste ends this documentary about his life with a sweet ballad about how dearly he loves his wife. The piano sounds lush and drives all the emotional emphasis of the song. The chorus is pretty nice, but the verses feel a little stuck in and rushed. I don't have much else to say. It's a pretty good song. Though there is some cruel irony to ending a film that depicts your wife battling cancer again with a song called It Never Went Away. A pretty good nomination. Next is Flaming Hot, nominated for Best Song. The song being The Fire Inside by Becky G, written by Diane Warren. For those unfamiliar, Diane Warren is an acclaimed songwriter who for almost a decade now has been consistently nominated for Best Song. This is her 15th nomination in the category, with no wins, other than an honorary award. And she's been dragging a lot of mediocre to terrible movies to getting nominations due to her songs. Her song here, The Fire Inside, falls alongside a lot of her recent output, which is bland, motivational pop. Adopting a mid-tempo reggaeton beat and sparse instrumentals, the song is fine. It suits the movie. It's bland, generic, and forgettable. A bad nomination. And finally, at the end of this video, we have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, nominated for Best Score. This racks up another nomination for John Williams, who has scored all the past films and many others you know and love. I think the core Indiana Jones themes that were created for the first film are amazing, and I consider them some of the best pieces of scoring I have heard. Here though, it just feels like Williams is playing the hits and not trying much else outside of that. He arranges the classic themes to fit the emotions of whatever scene and just fills in generic music for the rest of the film. It's not notable or impressive, and in a year with so many amazing scores that could have gotten nominated, this is upsetting. A bad nomination. And that's going to do it for this first video. The next video will be all about the Best Picture offshoots, so Best International, Best Documentary, and Best Animated. And I'll talk about the short films as well. That'll be up in a few weeks, so hope to see you then. Take care.